Thank you, Peter. Thank you to all of you for attending this press conference. We are very happy to host here the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis, in Brussels on the occasion of the Association Council between the European Union and Ukraine. This is an important moment. This is important not just today. This week is an important week for Ukraine and our support to Ukraine. Because on Monday, a couple of days ago, at the Foreign Affairs Council Minister, we adopted the Ukrainian Assistance Fund within the European Peace Facility, adding an extra 5 billion euros for military supplies to Ukraine. This will make our military support more predictable. It will bring the overall European Union and Member States assistance and military support to 33 billion. And I'm happy to be able to announce that also the commitments by Member States to support Ukraine bilaterally, I already have commitments for at least 20 billion for this year. So the European Peace Facility is a catalyzer of the bilateral agreements between Member States and Ukraine. And all these resources are being mobilized because an Ukrainian victory, because Ukraine supporting and rejecting the aggressor is essential for our security. It's not only about Ukraine's resisting and rejecting the invasion. It's about our security, and that's why we have to be supportive of the Ukrainian fight. If Putin were to conquer Ukraine, Ukraine had to wave the white flag. If Ukraine had to surrender, then a puppet regime will be installed in Kyiv. Ukrainian people will be crushed, and the Russian army will be in our borders. And we could be sure that they will not be stopping there. Earlier this week, Putin threatened the NATO with a potential third world war in his so-called election victory speech. It's a clear sign that he already sees himself at war with the entire West. That's what he is saying. And I'm afraid that he will continue his military operations against Ukraine. We must know to match the speed of our response with the extent of this threat by quickly taking the next steps on redirecting the revenues from frozen Asian assets for the benefit of Ukraine. You know that there are 360,000 millions of resources from the Central Bank of Russia, which has been frozen. And we have been discussing for weeks about how to use the revenues of these resources. By the time being, we don't talk about the capital itself, but the windfall profits generated by these assets due to the high increase on interest rates. And after the discussion, the Monday Foreign Affairs Council, I sent to the Council a proposal, a proposal for a Council decision to allocate the bulk of these revenues to the European Union financial capacity. And today, the Commission, when we were meeting together with the High Representative, has also approved a joint proposal for the regulation, the implementation of this decision, if, as I hope, the Council will adopt this decision which I propose. And this proposal is about to allocate 90% of these revenues to the European Peace Facility on the top of the 5 billion, not in substitution of, but adding to these 5 billion the revenues generated by these frozen assets in order to increase the military support to Ukraine. We do that through the European Peace Facility because the European Union budget cannot use its resources to buy arms. The European Peace Facility, as an intergovernmental fund, can do it. And the rest, the 10%, would be allocated to the Union budget to address reconstruction needs and to support and increase the Ukrainian defense industry capacities. We think that the revenue generated from these immobilized assets will be around 3 billion a year that will be added, as I said, to the European Peace Facility and to the European Union budget for military and civilian purposes. This proposal, this Council decision proposal, and this Council regulation from me and the Commission have already been sent to the Member States, my dear Prime Minister. So now it's up to them to take a decision that was very well received on the last Foreign Affairs Council. I hope that we can reach an agreement soon and change banknotes into weapons, because your soldiers don't fight with banknotes. They need physical arms. They need physical instruments in order to defend your people. That I'm saying that this week is very important from the point of view of our military support, and is also an important discussion of this week on Ukraine's future membership of the European Union. You have made the choice of becoming a member of the European Union. We opened this process. I understand those feeling well. When I was a young Spaniard facing the darkness of the dictatorship, it was for me the beacon of political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion. These three things are the ones that any society would like to have: political freedom, economic prosperity, and social cohesion. And today the meeting we have has allowed us to review the Ukrainian efforts on the European path. We look at everything that has been done in terms of political association, reforms, and trade relations. I am happy to confirm, and the Commissioner Varhelyi will give more details, that Ukraine made remarkable progress. And this progress has been achieved while you are fighting for your national survival. You fight two fights at the same time. In the military side, fighting for your survival as a nation, and the reforms in order to make you a member of the European Union. Today we have also made the first payment of 4.5 billion under the Ukraine facility, our 50 billion package to support the recovery, the reconstruction and modernization of Ukraine. And tomorrow, the European Council will discuss how to further speed up Ukraine's accession. Let me once again reiterate that we Europeans know that we owe to your fight. We will be for you, for your side, committed to whatever it takes, and thank you very much for this very much important exchange today.
Thank you. Thank you. Pane premiére, будь ласка. It's your turn now.
Dear High Representative of the European Union, dear Josep, Mr. Commissioner, dear Oliver, dear colleagues, journalists, it is a great pleasure to be here today in Brussels among Ukraine's friends and partners. We are grateful for the political, military, financial and humanitarian support, and we are particularly grateful for the acceleration of our European integration. We are grateful for the approval of the Ukraine Facility Mechanism for Ukraine. It will provide 50 billion euros in assistance over 4 years. It will be one of the key factors in our stability, and it is already working. Our second key priority is long-term, sustainable and predictable military support from the EU. I fully agree with Mr. Josep Borrell's words that EU is now on high alert as the vital interests of the entire continent are at stake. That is why Ukraine expects rapid progress in defense relations. In particular, we expect the newly established Ukraine Assistance Fund under the European Peace Facility, EPF, to be effective. This instrument will allow to increase the military support by an additional 5 billion euros this year. Thank you so much for this. We also welcome the first European Defence Industrial Strategy presented on 5th March, which includes Ukraine. It's crucially important for us. We are interested in participating in its practical implementation as soon as possible. After all, the Ukrainian defense industry will make Europe stronger to face common security challenges. The operating of the Defense Innovation Office in Kyiv will also contribute to this. We are grateful to the EU for its consistency in implementing sanctions against Russia and for the 13th sanctions package adopted in February. We expect the pressure on Russia to increase as part of the next 14th package. It is important to book the metallurgical, financial and energy sectors of the aggressor economy, including nuclear industry and enterprises of Rosatom. We also need quick decisions on the confiscation of Russian assets. We need to use profits from these assets for recovery and also for buying of weaponry and ammunition, as Mr. High Representative notes, and to cover budgetary needs. But that is only the first step. We insist on the full confiscation of other use of all frozen assets. I mean body of frozen Russian assets. Europe and the world need an effective precedent for making the aggressor pay a heavy price for the destruction it has caused in Ukraine. Dear colleagues, today's meeting of the Association Council is the second since the Ukraine was granted candidate status for EU membership and the first following the European Council's historic decision to open accession negotiations. We are grateful to our European partners for the agreement to continue the autonomous trade liberalization measures. It is extremely important for the Ukrainian economy that the so-called economic visa-free regime would be extended. At the same time, we seek long-term agreements on further trade liberalization, including through the mechanism provided Article 29 of the Association Agreement. Ukraine is ready to take further coordinated steps with its neighbours and the European Commission to unblock the border and restore exports and transit of Ukrainian goods, first of all, agricultural products. We are also working productively to bring the start of negotiations on the ACA agreement closer. This is the so-called industrial visa-free regime. This is a very important step in our strategic partnership. We look forward to further political support for EU-Ukraine relations in the area of critical raw materials and our participation in EU industrial alliances. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Josep Borrell, Oliver Varhelyi, all partners and friends for today's productive meeting of the EU-Ukraine Association Council. We have seen that there is no alternative to the path of EU accession and that it is irreversible. And this is a matter of the near future, not of distant prospects. We need each other today, tomorrow and always. Unity is our strength, our truth, our common values and our better future for generations to come. Thank you so much, dear High Representative, dear Commissioner. Thank you so much, dear colleagues, journalists. Thank you for your attention.
Ďakujem, thank you. And Mr. Commissioner, now it's your turn.
Thank you very much. I want to first of all welcome Prime Minister Shmyhal. I start by saying that, of course, the European Commission continues to stand by Ukraine and the people of Ukraine in defending their country. Therefore, in this fight, as long as it takes, the Commission will continue to support with all our means the Ukrainian state to function and to run and perform the public services under this huge pressure of war, of aggression is causing. We're continuously in contact in many different fora with the Ukrainian counterparts. Today, in the Association Council, we conveyed our unwavering support to the Prime Minister and his team, and also we took stock of the ongoing support Ukraine is receiving from us. When it comes to our financial support, we noted that since the start of the Russian aggression against Ukraine, the EU, the Member States and the European financial institutions have altogether made available 98 billion euros to Ukraine and to its people. This includes humanitarian, economic, military support and funding made available also to host Ukrainian refugees in Europe. This support also includes the first ever payment worth of 4.5 billion euros under the newly established Ukraine facility. This payment was quick and timely, as we have promised, and necessary. Therefore, we worked under huge time pressure, but we have delivered. We would also expect the next payment to come in April already, subject to progress on policy conditions as they were agreed between the Commission and Ukraine previously. I also want to recall that the Ukraine facility of 50 billion euros of support is there also for the next 4 years. This is to support the recovery and reconstruction and modernization of Ukraine as well, and this should create predictable, reliable financing for the next 4 years. The facility will cater both for short-term state needs and recovery requests and medium-term reconstruction and modernization of the Ukraine reconstruction work, and this should also help the private sector to participate in the reconstruction and recovery exercise, and should also bring further the reforms necessary for EU accession. We welcome that Ukraine has approved its plan now ahead of the Association Council. I understand that the Prime Minister has another meeting to hand over this plan to our President. This has been common efforts, working together with the administration in Kiev, and I think that this plan should be the main tool for the implementation of the Ukraine facility. And this plan should also be a comprehensive plan of the whole country for the internal reforms and investment priorities. And it should be also ready to be presented to the donors, the international partners, so that they can also come forward with their contributions. The Commission will now assess this plan and will make proposal for a Council implementing decision outlining the reforms and investments for the next 4 years. Once the Council approves this decision, we will start the disbursements on a quarterly basis, subject to qualitative and quantitative steps that have to be made by Ukraine. Now, this is the first EU-Ukraine Association Council since the European Council took the decision to open accession negotiations with Ukraine. We are pleased that this decision has contributed to maintaining a positive momentum in the country for advancing reforms, despite the ongoing war. It is important that Ukraine build on this positive momentum, as enlargement will remain a merit-based process. In particular, I want to emphasize the continued importance of the judicial and anti-corruption reforms. Today, we took note of the work on the 4 remaining reform steps that are necessary for the adoption of the negotiating framework, and on the basis of which the European Council took its decision to start the accession negotiations back in December. We recalled that the Commission will continue to monitor the implementation of all these steps, and this includes advancing the rights of persons belonging to national minorities, where we emphasize the need to closely engage with minorities and their kin states. We also encourage Ukraine to work hard towards completion of the other recommendations that we have made to each chapter back in our enlargement report of last year. And we will assess this as part of our regular reporting exercise on enlargement progress later on this year. We also record for the Ukrainian colleagues that the Commission has tabled the draft negotiating framework for discussions in the Council, which is now to be agreed by the Council once the internal deliberations have been successful. We also discussed the state of play of implementation of commitments under the Association Agreement, and we also underlined the importance of taking full advantage of the possibilities under the Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Area. There is still potential that we have not used. There are very many promising areas, and we are already working in areas like the roaming area, the ACA, the Agreement on Conformity Assessment and Acceptance, as mentioned by the Prime Minister, but also we have touched upon the energy sector. So, in conclusion, I think it's safe to say that what we see is a stronger and more resilient Ukraine, despite all the efforts of the Russian aggressors, and it is also very clear that Ukraine will come closer and closer to the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we take a few questions. First one, Dmitro. Також маємо українські переклади, можна запитати українські, so we have Ukrainian translation as well, so if you want, you can ask in Ukrainian.
Thank you for your floor, Dmitro Shkurko, National News Agency of Ukraine. As I was preparing, asking in English, I'll be asking in English. Thank you. For High Representative, if I may, as we speak, there are two, at least, trans-border points blocked by Polish.
Can you repeat? I haven't understood.
Border crossing.
As we speak, we have two border crossing points blocked now in Poland. As Prime Minister mentioned, you discussed shortly that issue, but right now that event just developing, because we have also attempted to block the border between Poland and Germany. So that, do you see some problems in that, and what is the possible threat for European mobility, and in particular military mobility in that regard, especially in the view of hybrid threats from Russian side? For Prime Minister, if I may, you mentioned the importance of the autonomous measures which are introduced by European Union. But there are some limitations in the trade, and we expect that Ukraine will not get some kind of 1 billion or more of revenues because of that limitations. Are you going to diversify the trade flow in that regard? I mean, maybe to find in other markets. And to Commissioner Varhelyi, if I may, with all the issues related to enlargement, do you expect the first intergovernmental conference could be held before the European elections? Thank you so much.
Well, about the block, the border, yes, we are aware of that. We are following closely these events. Certainly, the border has to be deblocked. Whatever reason they can argue, this has to be solved by other means. Because from a military point of view, we need to have the transit between Ukraine and the rest of the European Union free for military, for civilian purposes. So I understand there may be concerns, but the way of solving that is certainly not jeopardizing the transit between Ukraine and Poland in this critical moment.
Thank you so much. So I will continue the answer of High Representative. We work hard on the basis of coordination platform here in European Commission. We work hard with our neighbor countries, and I believe that nearest time we will have good results. The most important things which we discussed today during Association Council is impossibility of blocking of the solidarity lanes through the European Union, including our border points, border control points, because it's first point for beginning of solidarity lanes, and it couldn't be blocked. We have no one officially recognized case when weaponry supplying or humanitarian support supplying were blocked, so it was no one times, so it go free through our border. We also have very good decision yesterday's, tonight, I would say tonight's trialogue discussion, when continuation of autonomous trading measures is approved by representatives of European Council and European Parliament for 1 year more, since 25th of June, for the 1 year. And there is good for us conditions when we will take 22nd, 23rd year for estimation of level of supplying of our good from Ukraine to European Union. There are some safeguards which could be implemented, but it will not work while Ukraine will not reach some volume of this 22nd, 23rd year. So, in general, these conditions are negotiated with Ukraine, are approved by Ukraine, and I believe that it will be approved by European Council, and we will have this in practice for the next year. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, when to have the first IGC? First, you have to have a negotiating framework adopted. That is the moment from when some can see also the timeline for the first IGC. As you have seen, we made a proposal to the Council on the negotiating framework. Once the Council adopted, I think we can see when the first IGC will be convened by the Council.
Thank you very much. And since Prime Minister has to go to the Commission, we have to leave it here. We had 3 questions already, so thank you very much for coming. Prime Minister has to leave. High President. I know. Okay, so let's take one question quickly. Philippe, vous pouvez en français, mais très rapidement, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Philippe Renier, Journal Le Soir. So, a quick question. It seems that the Commission has some ideas in order to conduct the enlargement process with Ukraine. Would you please elaborate a bit on this? It's the question of the so-called step-by-step enlargement. Thank you.
Well, the college meeting is ongoing as we speak, and the proposal is discussed there. So I suggest you address this question at the midday to the colleagues who are going to debrief the press. If what you are pointing at is the gradual integration, this is nothing new. This is, I already quoted, we're doing the roaming, we're doing the ACA with Ukraine, we're doing the same under the growth plan with the Western Balkans. This Commission has put this very early on with the introduction of the new methodology, enlargement methodology, the possibility of integrating the candidate countries early on into the single market in areas where they are ready and able to apply the rules that we are doing.
Thanks. And with this, we really have to finish. So thank you very much. See you soon. Do pobačenia. Ďakujem.